Hi everyone, it's Joy here with another lawn fawn video. Today I created 5 little mini Valentine's Day cards. I'm using porcu-pine stamp and die and the porcu-pine add-on stamp and coordinating die. So I've stamped all my images with black ink on watercolor cardstock. And I'm using Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers to color my images. And all of these images are so darling. So I am using for my porcupines mid brown and light gray. So the body is going to be mid brown, and then their quills at the base will be the mid brown, and then I will use a little bit of light gray at the tips, because if you look at a porcupine, they kind of have a lot of white and gray in all of their quills. So that is what I'm trying to replicate here, which you'll see on this bigger porcupine here in just a second. I'm not going to show the coloring of all of the porcupines because they are exactly the same, but it's easier to see what I'm talking about with this big one. So I'm using the mid brown for the body. I'm blending it out with my paintbrush and a tiny bit of water. And then once I'm ready to do the quills, I'm going to take the mid brown marker and just kind of flick a little bit at the base of the quills. Then I'm using the light gray marker, pulling some of that mid brown out, and then I'm wiping it off on a paper towel. So if I get too much of that brown on the gray, I'm going to wipe it off on the paper towel so it doesn't so that way we can see the gray on their quills. I am using mid brown and beige for both trees and tree stumps. I'm just going to show this one tree here. I'm just kind of blending the two colors together. And then I'm just taking that mid brown and following along the stamped lines for the bark on the trees. Then mid brown and beige for the cute little acorns here. We have some mushrooms, some flowers, and some butterflies. I'm using light gray for the base of the mushroom, and I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to come back and use carmine red, but I want that to dry a little bit because colors like reds and dark pinks tend to bleed easier. So I want to make sure that my cardstock isn't too wet. Then I'm using bright yellow. I am using pink and lilac for the butterflies and light green for the greenery for the leaves. And then now we can come back and color the mushrooms. And when you have a darker color, it's pretty saturated on these markers, so you definitely want to put down just a little bit of color. I did use the coordinating dies to die cut them out. Now my inspiration is those cute little valentines we got as kids in our classrooms. So that's why these are so small. These are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, and this is from white cardstock. I just trimmed it down to that size. I am using the hillside stencils to create these cute little backgrounds because these are all going to have little miniature scenes on them. So I am using mowed lawn and tumbled glass distress oxide inks. And for each one of these, I am just going to use a different stencil or tilt it differently so it just looks a little bit different as far as the landscape goes. And of course, these stencils also, you can use them as a mask, which is really fantastic. And doing this stenciling went really quick. So I'm going to start with the grass. I'm ink blending a little bit heavier at the edge of the stencil for both the grass and the sky. And I didn't ink blend the sky perfectly. I did want it a little bit blotchy. To me, it makes it look like maybe there's some clouds off in the distance. So again, I'm going to do this here, stenciling and then masking so I can get my sky. And I'm going to do this for all 5 of these. Let's finish up our last one here. I'm going to repeat a couple of these stencils because there's only 3 and we have 5 cards. So let's get the last sky and then we can start stamping up our sentiments. So I'm using sentiments from both of the stamp sets, the porcu-pine and the add-on. I am going to stamp the bigger sentiments in lobster ink, and then you have the little sentiments which are the really cute little puns, which also supported the idea of making these like the little Valentine's cards that we got in our classrooms in like elementary school. So that first one said, Valentine, I'm nuts for you. This one says, will you be mine? And I will add some more sentiments to this one later. I'm also adding the hearts from the stamp sets with lobster ink. This one says, I love you so much. I porcupine for you. Under the I love you so much, it says Happy Valentine's Day. Will you be mine says, I like you. And then I porcupine for you says, I'm stuck on you. And this very last one, I messed up and added the wrong ink. So I had to ink blend the background again, but it says Valentine, I'm stuck on you, which is this little background here. So we're going to start adhering our scene together for each one of these cards, these little mini Valentine cards. He is holding, or she is holding, a flower. I'm going to do some little flowers on the background. We have a nice big tree. And then our sentiment. This one has a little tree. This little porcupine is going to sit on a wood stump. He's got all of these little acorns, and his sentiment says, Valentine, I'm nuts for you, which is really cute. I do end up scooting the stump and porcupine to the left a little bit. I did it off camera. And then to me, it looked a little bit better. Something was just a little bit off. He was a little too close to the center, so I moved him over. We're going to place these two guys right in the middle. That one says, will you be mine? I like you. Then we have this little guy here. We've got the mushrooms, a mushroom growing on the stump. And then we've got this little cluster of mushrooms. And that one says, I love you so much. Happy Valentine's Day. And I'm using liquid glue and foam adhesive, so some of this will have some dimension. And then this one with the flowers and the butterflies I thought was darling. It says, I porcupine for you. I'm stuck on you. I think it's really, really cute. So let's adhere those in place. And I did have one extra flower left over. I was kind of deciding where I wanted it to go, but it is going to go on the one with all of the flowers. Now I have also trimmed down some pieces of patterned paper from the Spiffier Speckles 6x6 paper pad. This has the gold foil on it. So these pieces are 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. So it's going to give us a nice little mat around our scenes. And then once we get all of these adhered, we can take a look at these up close. But I just think these are so fun. It just, like I said, so reminds me of school and elementary, getting these cute little Valentines. And these were really quick and easy to make. Look at how fun they are. They all just have their own little scene going on, which I think is so darling. And let's look at our last one here. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope that you feel inspired. Have a wonderful day.